and welcome to the next episode of Tech Edit Crafts. Today is all about the June Patreon piece. This is Smuggler's Cove, designed by Ian Lovecraft, and as per usual, outdone himself. This links with Dark Alleys, which has just recently finished, but it also has a tie. I could see some definite overtones between this and the Treasure Island pieces that he designed, which is why I've gone with the idea of a Smuggler's Cove. One of the discussion pieces that we had going on Patreon was that this could also represent something like the Mockers of Crondor. Smugglers hiding stuff underneath the tower, yeah, that's a winning piece for me. So much character, so much detail, and I have had an absolute blast painting this one up. I'm actually really in love with how this looks. Fantastic piece of terrain, and I can't wait to use it in a game. In underneath the tower, there is this little hidden room in the base of the hill, and that's why I've called it Smuggler's Cove. We've got some kegs down there. We've got like a shelving unit there with various bottles and things. And I'm looking at this as a bit of a bootleg operation going on down there, and they're stashing stuff away. In a D&D setting, that could be an area where they explore, and they might find, you know, a healing potion or something like that. Also, a little bit of a sneak peek. This is the July Patreon piece, which we'll do a video on very soon, but I was actually painting that up at the same time. I do feel, once I have finished and I have photographed this already, I'm sort of feeling like I'd like to make it a bit darker. So when I do the July piece, I may go back and just dirty that up a bit, make it just a little bit darker. If you are not a Dark Alleys subscriber, would like to be, there is links in the description down below. You can still do a late pledge and join in on that. It is an insane amount of terrain and miniatures. I think it was something like 150 models and terrain pieces. That's insane. That's insane. So jump in there and grab that if you haven't already. Smuggler's Cove, designed by Ian Lovecraft. It's the Patreon piece for this month. When you support TAC on Patreon, you're actually going ahead and supporting Anala, which is a charity organisation here in Cherrybrook, and they work with disabled people and provide housing, they provide work opportunities, provide real life aid, and I absolutely love supporting this organisation. So if you would like to help, you can join TAC, get a download STL file every month, and then you're helping. Sit back, enjoy the tutorial, and I will see you briefly at the end. Cheers. Starting off with a Taubmans Star Anise. This is an exterior wall paint, and I'm putting it through my airbrush. Before you cringe, I have done this a number of times and it works really well. Just make sure that you've got good cleaner there and good paint thinner. I water it down fairly heavily first and then add the thinner as well. So in terms of the amount of paint, there is less than half the pot is actually paint. Then it will go through the airbrush fairly well. Zenithal Undercoat to start with, and I always make sure I'm painting up a large batch when I do airbrushing, because the amount of time that it takes to clean it, you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of your paints. All of the woodwork is getting this Star Anise. It is a good base coat. Starting with that darker base gives you room to move upwards from there without having to worry about washes later. Still focusing on the brown, I'm now going to work on the highlighting and all of the dry brushing before I move on to grey. So I've got three different tones there, a dark brown, a raw sienna, and the yellow oxide. I'm then also adding some grey paint to that to get my dry brush colour. As I said, this piece is available over on Patreon at patreon.com/techeditcrafts. facebook.com/techadaptcrafts, and it's available for the month of June. You can come and join us over there to get this STL file and download and print it yourself. It's wonderful to see so many new patrons at the Hobby Goodness. You guys are absolutely legendary, and I love having you on board for the Patreon. But I'd like to pay particular attention to all of those at the Full Tackle. These guys go above and beyond every month. Andreas Rocco, David Bennett, David Scaberis, Ian and Tygo Connell, Jean Maguire, Joel Cunningham, Judy Hayes, Kent Rutherford, Christina B, Lester Spicer, Lopiana, Lord Deliverer, Michael Carty, Mousetrap Creations, Rick Sanchagro, Sean McKinley, and Toggers. The donations that you guys give to the Patreon each month really go a long way to helping Anala, the charity that we support, and I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. You really do help support this channel greatly. Thank you. For the second highlight color, I am toning down that brown to a light tan by adding some gray to the color I had before. It's a great way to really lighten that up and draw out all of the fantastic detail that is in this model, designed by Ian Lovecraft. Then, using a slightly darker gray than I normally do, I am painting up all of the stonework. For the outside stone, I am watering that down even further, just so the zenithal priming can show through. I've got a new purple to try out. This is Joe Sonja Fine Artist Paint Purple Madder, and I'm also using my Liquitex Acrylic Color Basics Hooker's Green Hue Permanent and the Yellow Oxide, again also from Liquitex. These three colors plus some of the burnt umber that I had before, I am using to add light with the yellow, add shadow with the purple, and just add some mossiness with the green. These are very much watered down and then sprinkled over the entire base of this model. Now, as they are still wet, I then go back and with just a wet brush, I start to blend them together so that all of those colors just show a variety of hues over the entire base. I do use a very watered down grey just in that wet brush, just so that some of the grey blends the colours together as I'm splotching. To dry brush the grey, I'm going back to my light grey, but with a touch of that yellow oxide mixed in, just to give a little variety to that tone. Second dry brush layer for the grey just simply adds more of that yellow and a little bit more white. Even just one dry brush layer can make a massive difference. You can see here the difference between one segment that has had the dry brush and then one segment that hasn't. For all of the metallic parts, I'm using this J. Burrows Acrylic Paint Silver Metallic. Okay, so the photo doesn't come out so well, but this is, again, some new paints here. The Joe Sonja Fine Artist Paint Gold Oxide and Marte Satin Acrylic Premium Gold. I'm using this on the strips around the barrel. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to do something a little different. It's not going to be that standard metal. I probably should have gone with more of a bronze colour, but you know what, in the end, I like the brightness in there, so I've just left it as is. Using a collection of colours now to paint the bottles in that bookcase. I want to make them bright and stand out, so I'm using a variety of different shades just to really draw the eye to these bottles on the bookcase. Now using a black wash and a brown wash, the recipe from Jeremy over at Black Magic Craft. Both of these washes are being used to go over the metal and to outline the joints in the wood and the join between wood and stone. I'm adding a bit of a trim line around the base of the hill just to give some variety and break the line of that grey. Now the next step got a lot of people talking when I did the Jaguar temple, but I'm going to be gluing it together. Super glue, add the pieces together. Why? Well, because this terrain is for a games club. It can get mixed up in the various boxes, and trying to find that roof that fits with that piece is often a bit of an issue. So by gluing them together, we have less chance of bits going missing. We can still get into all of the floors, so I don't have an issue with gluing it. Now you could leave it at that step, but let's take it a few steps more. That brown wash is now going over the barrels to try to take away some of that shine, and then we're going to start adding various flocks and brush cover, foliage, anything that I can use there to try and make it look a little bit more organic. This is the other reason for gluing the pieces together first, because that flock will not sit well if it's got to have the pieces slot in together in and out as you move it about. So gluing them together, I can then put that flock on and have it join and meld the pieces together. Well, I have used PVA glue, and these meadow flowers do have their own adhesive underneath. I am reinforcing them with super glue. I just find that helps the brush cover, the foliage to stick on, and the meadow flowers, I just find that adhesive doesn't hold as well after a while. So ladies and gents, I hope that you enjoy the tutorial of how to paint Smuggler's Cove. Don't forget, hit that like button, hit the subscribe, and turn your notifications on so that you never miss another episode of Tech Adept Crafts. We'd love to see you over on Patreon as the newest member of our little TAC community. It's a great way to support the channel and support a charity at the same time. So come and join us over there. Until next time, keep hobbying.